The architecture of light, Paradiso as a spiritual work of sovereignty and emergence. In the final canticle of Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy, the soul does not arrive at a static heaven, it awakens into alignment. Paradiso is not a reward for virtue, nor a celestial escape from earthly suffering. It is a mythic map of the soul's emergence after descent and integration. It is the radiant culmination of a journey that began in distortion, Inferno, and passed through purification, Purgatorio. For survivors, seekers, and mythic educators, Paradiso offers a vision of spiritual sovereignty, a state of being where love is not control, truth is not dogma, and radiance is not performance, it is presence. To read Paradiso as a spiritual work is to reclaim it from abstraction. Beneath its scholastic scaffolding lies a living architecture of discernment, autonomy, and sacred love. It is not a theology, it is a framework. It is not a doctrine, it is a mirror. The ascent begins, from fire to flight. Dante's journey into Paradiso begins not with triumph, but with transformation. Having passed through the purifying fire at the summit of Mount Purgatory, he is no longer defined by sin or shadow. He has named distortion, integrated grief, and received love without possession. He is ready, not to be rewarded, but to resonate. This ascent is vibrational, not spatial. Each celestial sphere corresponds to a deeper alignment with divine intelligence. The soul rises not by merit but by clarity. It is drawn upward by its own resonance with truth. For survivors, this mirrors the moment when healing shifts from reaction to creation. When the soul no longer defines itself by what it has endured, but by what it is becoming. The ascent is not an escape, it is an emergence. 2. The celestial spheres, a map of consciousness. Paradiso is structured around 9 celestial spheres, each inhabited by souls who embody a particular virtue: faith, hope, love, justice, wisdom, and more. These are not static heavens, they are living archetypes. Dante encounters historical figures, mythic presences, and radiant beings who reflect aspects of divine order. This structure can be read as a map of consciousness. Each sphere represents a layer of integration, a facet of sovereignty. The soul does not ascend by obedience, it ascends by becoming more itself. The higher the sphere, the deeper the alignment. For survivors, this affirms that healing is not linear, it is layered. Each stage of ascent reflects a reclamation of a suppressed or distorted aspect of self. The soul rises as it remembers. This framework resonates with mythic psychology. The soul must descend, name distortion, integrate shadow, and then rise not to perfection but to presence. Each sphere is a mirror, not a ladder. 3. Beatrice as archetype, fierce love and clear sight. Beatrice, who replaces Virgil as Dante's guide, is not a passive muse, she is a force of discernment. She sees Dante fully, names his distortions, and calls him into alignment. Her love is not sentimental, it is sovereign. She does not comfort Dante, she confronts him with clarity. Beatrice represents the archetype of fierce grace, the kind of love that liberates, not controls. She is the mirror of truth, the voice of discernment, the presence that says, "I see you and I will not let you remain small." This archetype is essential for spiritual work. Survivors often encounter distorted versions of love, love that demands silence, obedience, or self-erasure. Beatrice affirms that true love includes truth, that grace includes clarity, that sovereignty includes relationship. In survivor-centered frameworks, Beatrice becomes a model for protective guidance. She does not rescue, she reflects. She does not possess, she empowers. Her presence affirms that love must honor autonomy, not override it. 4. The ethics of radiance, shining without shame. As Dante ascends, he encounters souls who shine with increasing brilliance. Their light is not imposed, it is expressed. They do not compete, compare, or dominate. They radiate. This is the ethic of Paradiso. The soul does not need to prove, it needs to be. This challenges cultural paradigms of visibility, validation, and hierarchy. In Paradiso, radiance is relational. Each soul's light enhances the whole. There is no scarcity, no distortion, no control. For survivors, this affirms that the final stage of healing is not perfection, it is presence. It is the ability to live from the center, to shine without apology, to love without possession. Radiance becomes a form of truth-telling. The soul no longer hides, performs, or defers. It expresses. It embodies. it becomes V. The music of the spheres, harmony as healing. Throughout Paradiso, Dante describes celestial music, harmonies that reflect divine order. This music is not entertainment, it is structure. It is the sound of alignment. It is the vibration of truth. This metaphor is profound. It affirms that healing is not just psychological, it is vibrational. The soul must come into resonance with its own truth. It must tune itself to love, clarity, and grace. In real life, this may manifest as a shift in relationships, creativity, or embodiment. The survivor begins to live in harmony, not with imposed systems, but with their own rhythm. They begin to hear the music of their own becoming. This echoes ancient cosmologies, where music was seen as the language of the divine. The soul, when aligned, does not speak, it sings. 6. The vision of the rose, love without possession. Near the end of Paradiso, Dante beholds the celestial rose, a vast, radiant structure of souls arranged in perfect harmony. This vision is not hierarchical, it is relational. Each soul is placed according to its love, its clarity, its resonance. This image reclaims love from distortion. It affirms that love is not control, not transaction, not hierarchy. It is presence. It is alignment. It is the ability to see and be seen without fear. For survivors, this is revolutionary. It affirms that love is not earned, it is remembered. That belonging is not imposed, it is chosen. That the soul's place in the rose is not given, it is revealed. The celestial rose becomes a metaphor for community without control. A vision of relational sovereignty. A map of love that liberates. 7. The beatific vision, seeing without distortion. The climax of Paradiso is Dante's vision of the divine, not as a person, but as a presence. He sees a radiant point of light, surrounded by concentric circles of fire and love. He sees the unity of all things. He sees himself. This vision is not theological, it is mythic. It affirms that the soul, when fully aligned, sees clearly. It sees without distortion, without fear, without separation. It sees the divine not as other, but as source. For survivors, this is the final reclamation. It is the moment when the soul no longer defines itself by what it has endured, but by what it is. It is the moment when truth is not painful, it is radiant. This vision affirms that the divine is not distant, it is intimate. Not imposed, it is revealed. Not hierarchical, it is relational. 8. Paradiso as a survivor-centered framework. To read Paradiso as a spiritual work is to reclaim it as a framework for emergence. It affirms that the soul's journey does not end in survival, it culminates in radiance. It affirms that healing is not just about descent and integration, it is about embodiment. We can imagine a contemporary protocol inspired by Paradiso. 1. Ascent by resonance. The soul rises not by effort but by clarity. It aligns with truth and is drawn upward. 2. Encountering archetypes. The soul meets aspects of itself, faith, love, wisdom, justice, and integrates them. 3. Receiving fierce love. The soul is guided by love that sees clearly and liberates fully. 4. Radiating without apology. The soul shines, not to prove but to express. Radiance becomes relational. 5. Hearing the music. The soul tunes itself to its own rhythm. Harmony becomes healing. 6. Belonging without possession. The soul finds its place, not through hierarchy, but through resonance. 7. Seeing the divine. The soul beholds truth, not as doctrine, but as presence. It sees itself. This framework can be adapted for mythic storytelling, survivor-led ritual, or spiritual practice. It affirms that the final stage of healing is not escape, it is embodiment. 9. Historical and mythic context. Dante's radical vision continued. Dante wrote Paradiso not from a place of comfort, but from exile. He had been cast out of Florence, betrayed by political allies, and condemned by the very institutions he once served. His vision of heaven was not a retreat, it was a reclamation. He dared to imagine a cosmos where divine order was not enforced by corrupt systems, but revealed through love, clarity, and discernment. His use of mythic structure, theological language, and poetic form was not ornamental, it was protective. He encoded spiritual truths in symbolic architecture. He built a sanctuary of meaning in a world of distortion. For survivors, this affirms that myth is not fantasy, it is resistance. It is the language of the soul when direct speech is dangerous. It is the architecture of truth when institutions betray. Dante's Paradiso becomes a model for how to speak truth in code, how to build frameworks that protect sovereignty, and how to reclaim the sacred from the hands of the profane. Paradiso and the mythic arc of healing. When viewed through a mythic psychological lens, Paradiso completes a sacred arc of transformation that begins in Inferno, moves through Purgatorio, and culminates in sovereign embodiment. In Inferno, the soul names distortion, recognizing the architecture of abuse, fragmentation, and control. It is the descent into the underworld, where truth is revealed through suffering and systems of fear are exposed. In Purgatorio, the soul begins the slow, relational process of integration. Shadow is not banished but understood, grief is not bypassed but honored. This phase affirms that healing is layered, non-linear, and deeply personal. Finally, in Paradiso, the soul rises, not through merit or obedience but through resonance. It begins to embody sovereignty, living from its center, radiating truth, and loving without possession. This ascent is not a reward, it is a reflection of clarity. For survivors, this arc mirrors the journey from naming what was done to them, through the reclamation of suppressed truths, into the full expression of who they are becoming. Each phase is sacred. Each descent prepares the ascent. And each layer of emergence affirms that the soul is not broken, it is becoming. Roman 11. Paradiso and the reclamation of the sacred. One of the most radical aspects of Paradiso is its reclamation of the sacred. Dante does not present heaven as a place of judgment, hierarchy, or exclusion. He presents it as a realm of resonance. Souls are not rewarded, they are revealed. They do not compete, they harmonize. This challenges centuries of theological distortion. It affirms that the sacred is not owned by institutions, it is embodied by souls. That divine order is not enforced, it is expressed. That truth is not imposed, it is remembered. For survivors, this is liberating. It affirms that the sacred cannot be weaponized. That love cannot be institutionalized. That the soul's relationship to the divine is direct, intimate, and sovereign. Dante's vision becomes a blueprint for spiritual autonomy. A map for reclaiming the sacred from systems of control. A mirror for the soul's own radiance. 12. Paradiso as a living practice. To engage Paradiso as a spiritual work is not to read it passively, it is to live it actively. It becomes a practice of alignment, a ritual of resonance, a framework for emergence. Here are ways this can be embodied. 1. Narrative reclamation. Use the structure of Paradiso to rewrite personal mythologies. Map your own spheres of ascent. Name the virtues you embody. Reclaim your place in the celestial rose. 2. Survivor-led ritual. Create rituals that reflect the ascent. Fire for purification, music for resonance, mirrors for clarity. Let Beatrice be invoked as a guide of fierce love. Let radiance be honored without shame. 3. Community without control. Build spaces that reflect the ethics of Paradiso. Relational sovereignty, mutual radiance, love without possession. Let each soul shine. Let each voice harmonize. 4. Mythic integration. Use Paradiso alongside other mythic texts, Milton, Dante, archetypal psychology, to build layered frameworks for healing. Let the ascent be contextualized, not idealized. 5. Embodied sovereignty. Practice living from the center. Let your truth be radiant. Let your love be clear. Let your presence be unapologetic. 13. Final reflections, the soul as mirror. At the end of Paradiso, Dante beholds the divine, not as a distant deity, but as a radiant presence. He sees the unity of all things. He sees himself. He sees that the journey was not toward something, it was into something. Into truth. Into love. Into being. This final vision affirms that the soul, when fully aligned, becomes a mirror. It reflects the divine not as doctrine, but as presence. It affirms that the sacred is not elsewhere, it is here. That the journey is not upward, it is inward. For survivors, this is the deepest truth, that the soul is not broken, it is becoming. That the fire was not punishment, it was purification. That the climb was not penance, it was preparation. Dante's Paradiso becomes not a destination, but a declaration, that the soul, once aligned, is radiant. That love, once freed from distortion, is fierce. That truth, once remembered, is whole. 14. Paradiso as a call to mythic sovereignty. In a world of distortion, Paradiso offers a vision of clarity. In a culture of control, it offers a framework of autonomy. In a lineage of betrayal, it offers a reclamation of the sacred. It is not a fantasy, it is a mirror. It reflects what becomes possible when the soul chooses truth, integrates shadow, and rises into alignment. It affirms that sovereignty is not isolation, it is radiance. That love is not control, it is clarity. That healing is not a return, it is an emergence. For mythic educators, Paradiso becomes a tool. For survivors, it becomes a map. For seekers, it becomes a mirror. And for all who dare to ascend, it becomes a promise that the soul once seen will shine.